Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, Blitzers, and welcome to the Buckeye Blitz podcast. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining. Thanks for hitting that like and subscribe button. As I've mentioned many times in my other podcasts, I'm not a journalist. I'm not in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. I'm certainly not an insider. Just a guy who likes to talk about Buckeye football. So thanks for coming on this ride with me today. I wanted to talk today a little bit about 2023 and beyond, kind of what this year looks like with 2022 full on in our rear view mirror. The early transfer portal window is closed. The declarations for the draft is done, and so we are looking ahead full steam to what's coming. So, with that in mind, the spring game is coming up on April 15th, so pencil that in your calendars, and the tickets for that go on sale February 10th. It's a great little family event. I really enjoy it. I've been many, many times. I try to go every year. They do a lot with the student body at halftime, so it's really nice for anybody and everything if you haven't a chance to attend, I would definitely go. And tickets aren't outrageous; they're usually around $10. They used to be 5, but you can add inflation to that or something. So I did have a couple submissions to my website about what this year's 2023 recruiting class looks like and possibly some around the 2024 recruiting class. So I'll touch on that today too, since we're doing a look ahead at the 2023 season. So I wanted to really talk about the transfer portal to start off with, because that seems to be the hot topic. And, Ohio State the last couple of years has been pretty picky about who they take. So we did grab Victor Cutler from Louisiana Monroe. He was a 2-star. He did play well against Alabama last year. I listened to an interview with him, and it sounds like they're really looking at him for playing on the interior of the offensive line. Doesn't sound like he's going to be a tackle. He did play left tackle, right tackle, and center for Louisiana Monroe, but I look for him to either be at center or right guard, depending on how the crow flies with Matthew Jones playing center or right guard. They did get a huge pickup. If you haven't heard, I'm hoping you have. Jihad Carter out of Syracuse, huge get for OSU, the number 1 rated safety in the transfer portal. So bringing him in is nice. They did get the kid Gebbia from Oregon State. He's a quarterback. It's strictly for depth. He's not going to compete for a starting job. He's here to learn from Ryan Day and Corey Dennis. He wants to get into coaching. This is the Chris Chuganoff, or however you want to word it. He is here to be a backup for whoever wins the starting job between Devin Brown and Kyle McCord. So there's that. And then they added a kicker and a long snapper earlier on in the cycle. So not a lot of additions. I still think in the later transfer portal window, you're going to see Ohio State pick up another offensive lineman, somebody that's actually a tackle. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be a depth piece, though. I think we're probably going to go into the year, unless somebody gets really mad or that things blow up with a coach. The transfer portal guys you're going to see come out in the late window are the guys that didn't win the starting job at their school. So I think that you're probably going to start the year with Zen Miholski at left tackle, unless they move Donovan Jackson out there, which has been kind of discussed a little bit. But I don't think he has the frame or the length to do that. So we'll see. One of the things that, as we look ahead, I don't know if you've seen the schedule yet, but wow. So we open up at Indiana, then it's San Jose State, Western Kentucky, then at Notre Dame, then back home against Maryland, and then at Purdue, which is always a terrible place to play. Gosh, playing at West Lafayette. Just they always show up and give us their best shot. And then we immediately have to turn back home, and we play at home against Penn State. So it's Purdue at home against Penn State, then back on the road to Camp Randall at Wisconsin. And you better believe Luke Fickell's going to have them boys ready. So that 3-game stretch is going to tell you everything you need to know about the season, because that's grueling. I honestly think that Ohio State probably has the hardest Power 5 schedule of any team in the Power Five. So at Purdue, at home against Penn State, which they look under Drew Aller, they look like they're going to have a pretty good football team this year. At Wisconsin, then at Rutgers, at home against Sparty, at home against Minnesota, and then up north against that team up north. So rough schedule this year. I do think that Ohio State will come out all the way to the Michigan game unscathed. If we were at Penn State, that might be a different story. At playing at Purdue, at Penn State, and at Wisconsin, but we're not. We're at home, thankfully, and you can bet your money that Purdue, Penn State, and Wisconsin are all going to be night games. So as far as that, that's kind of how next year sets up for the 2023 season. Definitely a rough schedule, but manageable. And it's nice that we have, no slight to Indiana, but you've got 3 lesser contests before you get into that Notre Dame at Notre Dame for whoever the starting quarterback is, to get some throws and some confidence in his feet under him in the offense. So in 2024 news, as far as recruiting goes, Corey Dennis and Coach Day are headed to visit Jaden Davis today. So a little bit of background on Jaden. He's a 4-star from Providence Day School in Charlotte. He is the number 2 quarterback in the country for the national composite. He's the number 19 player overall. As you may have heard, we missed out on Dylan Raiola. And so now looking at his offers, Jaden Davis has offers everywhere. It looks like, as far as like where he's leaning, I see Penn State, Tennessee, North Carolina, and that team up north. Wilt Fong has him mild, like a 6 out of 10 towards committing to that team up north. However, of note, Harbaugh went to see Dylan Raiola today. So I guess there's a chess match going on between Ryan Day and Jim Harbaugh for these quarterbacks. So I would expect to see this take quite some time for that 2024 quarterback. I don't really know what to say about it. Jaden Davis looks like your prototypical Ohio State quarterback pre-Ryan Day. He's got a little bit of that Justin Fields in him. I guess Fields played for Day. But he looks like a good young kid, so we'll see how this all plays out. I hope they can get either Jaden Davis or there's another kid I've been watching, and he's only got, and I think he's going to blow up this year. His name's Austin Mack, like the receiver we had. He's out of Folsom, California. He has a bunch of Pac-12 offers, including Stanford and Arizona and Cal, and he's 6'6" and 210. And it's long and long strides. Kind of reminds me of Terrell Pryor a little bit. So I'd be interested to see if they take a look at him. He's, I think a little further down the list, maybe 7 or 8 for the 7th or 8th for the number of quarterbacks, in this year's draft. But I may be a little concerned about level of competition, but he's definitely playing for the right team, and they played for a state championship, and he's definitely got all the attributes. So I wouldn't be surprised to maybe see him blow up a little bit this year, another California kid, a la CJ Stroud. So some of the kids that we have to hit on. So this was the other question that was submitted to my website, was what kids in Ohio do we have to hit on? And so in my opinion, this is kind of a twofold thing. Ohio State has offered 9 kids in Ohio, which a little bit unusual. That's a little on the higher side. It's sometimes it's less. So Bryce West, DB out of Glenville, he's number 4 at his position. He's a 5-star. Have to reel him in. Have to. That Glenville pipeline has to stay strong. It really does. Jordan Marshall, a 4-star out of Archbishop Moeller. He's number 8 nationally. Heck of a running back. Got to bring him in. Elias Rudolph, a 4-star edge out of Cincinnati Taft. He has one of the best get-offs I've seen of a high school kid. Can't miss on him. And then I'm partial to this kid because I grew up in Wayne/Holmes County area. Sam Williams Dixon, a 3-star running back from West Holmes in Millersburg. I hope that he signs with Ohio State. He looks like the real deal. I will say level of competition is a question there, but he looks like the real deal. Aaron Scott, a 4-star DB out of Springfield, excuse me, looks like a pretty good player. Demarion Witten, he's a 4-star athlete out of Glenville, and of course Garrett Stover, 4-star out of Big Walnut, another athlete and cousin to Cade. So would be really nice to keep that pipeline going with Big Walnut. And then the Armstrong twins, recently offered by Justin Fry out of Lakewood. They're both tackles. They're both 3 stars. I expect them to be 4 stars by the end of the season. So it would be nice if you could bring in both of them. They may split up. That's a possibility, but I like what they both bring. I think that it would be nice to get 2 offensive tackles in the same class that are both highly rated and in-state kids. So that said, I wanted to read this list, and it's absolutely absurd. But this is our wide receiver room next year for the fall, at least as of now. You have Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Egbuka, Julian Fleming, Xavier Johnson, Jaden Ballard, Keon Graves, Caleb Brown, Kojo Antwi, Caleb Burton, Brandon Ennis, Noah Rogers, Carnell Tate, and Bryson Rogers. That is absolutely absurd. The amount of 5-star talent in that room is nuts. I cannot get over it. So Brian Hartline is doing his thing. I'm excited to see what he can do when he gets to recruit the entire offense. I mean, absolutely amazing. So, as I said, kind of a look ahead. I hope I answered your question about the 2023 class. I'm happy with it. I think overall they did as well as they could with the way things kind of shook out with some late departures, and sometimes you just can't recover from that. The week of early signing day. So excited to see what the 2023 starting quarterback position looks like. That was the other submission from last week, so I'll re-answer that. My thought really is I like Devin Brown. I know that Kyle McCord has plus 2,200 odds, I think, to win the Heisman this year. I know that he has the connection with Marvin Harrison Jr. I know he's been in the program longer. I know all of those things. But I also know that Devin Brown, also a 5-star, also more athletic, also can run the zone read, and can break a defense's back with his legs. I think that whoever loses probably transfers, unless you can convince Devin Brown and say, hey, Kyle's going to go this year, he's going to be off to the draft. You go next year, then you're off to the draft. And then it's either Lincoln Keen-Holtz or whoever they bring in the 2024 class, or maybe a transfer. Don't know what that looks like yet, but the last reason I would say that I'm leaning, and I'll kind of end with this, towards Devin Brown, is the fact that he's a true sophomore. So he would play all of this year and all of next year, so he'd get 2 years in Day's offense. And I realized that would mean Kyle McCord would absolutely certainly transfer. So, the certainty of Devin Brown transferring isn't necessarily there if Kyle wins the job. And this will be a talking point for, until after spring ball. And I can promise you that Ryan Day isn't going to tell us anything after spring practice. We're not going to know who the starter is until probably 2 weeks before training camp ends, if we're lucky. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I hope you enjoy listening. If you do, please like and subscribe. I appreciate it. And I hope you all have a good weekend. Stay safe out there, and go Buckeyes.